this computer. And welcome. This is the Central Florida Computer Society Windows Special Interest Group, or WinSIG. Today is Sunday, December 9th, 2018. I am Huey Poplock, and I welcome you to our meeting for this month. Let's get the sign-in screen minimized, and we'll bring up the website with the listing of the items we're going to cover. But you'll notice over on the right, if you subscribe to our mailing list, you'll get not only a notice a day or two before the meeting, sometimes a little bit earlier, but usually a few days before. You'll get a notice of what we're going to cover, some links to what we covered last month, and usually an article that I find somewheres. And several people have commented to me about the article that I included this month. So make sure you sign up for that with your email address, your first name, and your last name. And then hit the subscribe button, and we'll be good to go. I'm going to go ahead and make the screen bigger now so we can see the items we're going to cover today. If you checked yesterday, I've added an item, and we're going to talk about a few things that I've added since then. So let's get started. Windows 10 File Explorer not responding. If you're having a problem with File Explorer, now what do I mean by File Explorer? That can be either this, which is this PC, or your File Explorer is basically the same thing. It's your file manager that's built into Windows. It may not look exactly like this because you have the ability to change the view to extra large icons, small icons, tiles, large icons, a list, content, medium icons, and details. And I usually leave mine in the details mode, which goes back to my DOS days. But that's what the file manager is, and it also is sometimes. And I closed. I shouldn't have closed that, but anyway. And sometimes you'll see that all of a sudden, all your icons on your screen, all of these icons on your screen will disappear, and then come back, and that means your file manager has restarted for one reason or another. So we're going to talk about if it's not responding, if you can't click, if you're trying to click on something and it's not working, and you have determined that it is File Explorer that's not responding to you, there are some things that you can do. And that is restarting the explorer.exe file, which is what controls that. And there's one of the processes is using Task Manager. Now, how do you get to Task Manager? One is you can right-click on the taskbar at the bottom, and you'll get a list of several items, and in there is your Task Manager. You can also go to your Start button over in the bottom left-hand corner, and I'm not sure if you can see it on my desktop or not, because I've got something on the showing on the bottom of mine. You may as well from Zoom. But if you click on it, you'll see this, and Task Manager comes up there. When you click on Task Manager, you can also get it by Shift Control Escape. And I thought I started Task Manager, but let's try it again. We'll do it from here. And here's our Task Manager. You'll notice that Windows Explorer is here. Well, if it's not working and you need to restart it, you highlight it, and then you can just click Restart. It will shut it down and restart it. Or if it's stuck, it will close it out so it's not stuck anymore and then restart it. Or you can right mouse click on it and hit the restart from here. Okay, that's one way in which you can restart the Task Manager. If Task Manager, by the way, looks like this, just click on the More Details and you'll get more information. And like I said, you can click on the Windows Explorer and then hit restart. Make sure you're in processes. That's where you'll see it. If you're at any of the other tabs, you may not see it, or you won't see a screen similar to that. That's what I just showed you. You can exit Explorer from the taskbar, Context Manager, and start it again from the task. So that's what I mentioned to you. You can show the Task View button and exit Explorer. Somebody's mic is open. Is that Stan? Is that you? Just make sure that's all it is. Yeah, okay. Or in Task Manager, you can just say run a new, if it's not running, you can run a new task. And then it'll open up a dialog box. I muted myself for a moment there, so if it went silent, that's why. I'm going to put another cough drop in. I'm going to cough too. Okay, I'm back. It's not going to be as easy as I had hoped, but you can create a new task and type in explorer.exe, and that manually restarts it. You can also type CMD in the box, press enter, and then there is a command line that you can kill it, and then to type in start explorer.exe from the command line. So it will look like something like this. And you can create a batch file as well. The article gives you how to do all of this. So I'm not, I think I've explained it to the point I hope you understand it. Oh, the next item is Microsoft is building its own Chrome browser to replace Edge. Many of you, like me, probably don't use Microsoft Edge or don't use it much. It has a lot of issues. It's I've not been happy with it. There are not a lot of extensions and add-ons for Edge. It's been slow to be accepted by the Windows community. A lot of us use either Chrome or Firefox, and some of us use other browsers as well. But Chrome by far is the most popular. And Microsoft has decided that they're going to replace Edge. It may still be called Edge, by the way, but they're going to change it or update it. And this article explains what they're going to be doing, and that's basically use Edge, fine-tune it for Microsoft, for Windows, and you'll have a Chrome-based Edge or Chrome-based browser anyway from Windows, from Microsoft, part of Windows, if you don't want to use the Google version. I have seen a news article that Firefox, of course, is not real happy about this. I'm sure they're paying Google a pretty good amount to be able to use their browser. And it makes, of course, that browser to be more popular. So Firefox would like them to use theirs. And so they're suing Microsoft. I don't know on what grounds, but it's going to be in the news, and it may make it a little bit more difficult for Microsoft to use or to get started with it. But I think we will be seeing an Edge or a Microsoft browser anyway, based on Chrome. So that's coming up in the near future. It's not now. I use Chrome as my main browser on all of my machines, but mostly because I have a Chromebook that I use probably 80% of my computing time these days. And of course, it uses Chrome as its browser because that's what the operating system is. It is basically the Chrome browser. Okay, the next item is something that's coming. It's not here yet, but I think it's going to be an interesting thing. And that's Microsoft is going to bring live captions and subtitles to PowerPoint. So you're going to be able to, and I'm not quite sure how all this is going to work, but Microsoft is rolling out a new accessibility feature for PowerPoint, one that stands to help speakers ensure their presentations are understood by their entire audience. The company notes that in cases where audience members are hard of hearing or speak a different language than the presenter, the speaker's presentation may not be fully communicated, but a new tool aims to solve that problem. Soon, PowerPoint will be able to transcribe and caption what a speaker says in real time, giving the audience members the option of reading what the presenter is saying. What I'm reading there is, if I was in PowerPoint, I could be talking to you, and it automatically is going to figure out what I'm saying and put it along the bottom of the screen. I don't have to go in and type it in. It's going to do that by itself. That's a big thing. And it's going to be really nice to have for those of us who do presentations, because people are going to be able to understand us better, especially those of you in our audience are mostly in computer user groups, and most of our audience have hearing impairments of some type, and usually we're in some kind of a room that a lot of people don't hear us, and this will be a big benefit. I'm going to clear my throat, excuse me. Okay. Okay, so how to make your mouse pointer easier to see. To get to your mouse settings, what you need to do is go into your settings with the latest version of, with Windows 10, you have to go into devices. With the earlier versions, you have to go into control panel and then find your mouse. But once you do that, you come over here to mouse, and you will find something, and what you need is the additional mouse options. And when you do that, you'll get the old mouse properties. I can't make this bigger, I don't believe. Hopefully you can see it, but if you go to pointers, here is a list of all of the pointers you have. Right now I'm on Windows Black Extra Large, but if I go to magnified, it will look like that. If I go to the default Extra Large, it will look like that. If I go to inverted extra large, that's the black one that I'm on right now. And I just click on OK or apply. Apply applies it, OK applies it, and closes the window. But I don't want to close the window yet, so I'm just going to hit apply. And so you'll see that my mouse, depending on where it is, extra large system scheme. Let's go ahead and go to Windows Black Extra Large. Yeah, and apply. There we go. Now, if you want the trail like I have here, actually, I don't see it on, I see it on my computer. I don't see it online, so you may not be seeing it. You can have the trails and so on. It's called the enable the pointer shadow. But there are some other options. You've got a printer speed, so the pointer speed you can adjust. You can have a snap to. So if you're going to someplace, if you click that, it automatically will snap to a location. Your visibility, display the trails. That's where I have it turned on. I see it on my computer, but I'm looking at it on my Chromebook as well that I'm logged in with, and I don't see the trails showing up. So you may not see that, but you can change how long the trail is. You can hide the pointer while typing. If your pointer gets in the way when you're working on a Word document or something, what you can do is just hide the pointer while you're typing. When you stop typing, it'll come back. And then you can show the location of the pointer if you click this and apply it. So if I want to, I just hold the control button down. Well, let's see what happens. Show location when I press the control key. Well, not working. Well, it should work. If it doesn't, and I may have to get out of it and say okay, but that should work. It may not be working through Zoom. I'm not sure the reason why. And so this article talks about what each of those settings do. And let's see, we can close this so you can see better. How to enable the pointer trails. That's what the trails look like. It just, as you move it, you can see where it's been, and it just makes, I think, a little bit easier to find your pointer. You can change the color, or you can change the size of it. And you can have the large inverting, and there's a way of changing the color as well. And show the location. If you do that, it should put a circle around it when you press the control key. And you apply it, and it should work. Mine wasn't working. It may be because of the version 1809, and it may be something on my computer. Okay. Dick sent me an item during the week that he got an update to 1809, but was not able to update his other computer. And I found the same thing. This computer is 1809, and my other computer, my Surface, is still 1803. I did an update on the 1803 machine, and it did an update, but not enough. It didn't go to 1809. It did a cumulative update of 1803. So, and then he also mentioned that, let's find it here, because I took some pictures. And which one is it here? Yesterday morning, I clicked, and I had an update of the cumulative. Let's make that a little bit. I think I can make that bigger. It's a picture, right?
Can I inject?
Sure.
You can force the update. What's happening there is Microsoft is looking at your hardware and it's not sure about it, so it leaves you on the old version just in case you're subject to that bug. But you can actually force the upgrade, and that's what I did on mine. It worked great.
Okay, well, they fixed the bugs and have re-released it.
I realize that they're rolling it out, but when you do the update check, Microsoft is looking at your hardware to see if it's compatible. If it's not compatible, it's not going to update automatically. So they're really slow in rolling it out.
Okay.
But you can force it if you want it.
And I will be doing that this week. I didn't want to do it yesterday because I need that computer for demonstration.
Mine, I had problems.
And I don't expect any either. I had forced this one. Anyway, for this one, which is 1809, there was a cumulative update, and it was installing. It said 75%. And when I went out after it did the update, and then there was also a cumulative update of .NET for Windows 10 version 1809. When I went and checked the history after it finished, I noticed the cumulative update did install, but earlier it had failed. And it was the same version. So it tried, it didn't install, it did the cumulative update for the .NET, and then I had to try it again, and it worked. So I do have the most up-to-date on this computer at this point. What I did want to show you was the, let's see, which one is it here? Right here. That cumulative update, if you click on it, you get this. Let's make this bigger. Come on. There we go. And improvements and fixes for this, it was actually completed on the 5th of December. I installed it yesterday. This update includes the quality improvements. It addresses an issue with Microsoft Edge using the drag and drop feature. In other words, it's addressing issues. There were no additions with this update to 1809. This is not the 1809 update. This is an update to 1809. And you can see all of the things that they fixed since as an cumulative update. And then there are still some issues, known issues. There's still a couple of issues after installing. Users may not be able to use the seek bar in Windows Media Player, and NVIDIA has notified Microsoft of an issue where Microsoft Edge may crash or hang while playing a video. So they're still working on those. And then how to get that update if you need to. So all of the knowledge base for each of the updates has a lot of information on it. I'm only showing you this not for the particular items for this one, but the fact that that information is out there so you can see what gets updated as you do your updates. And let's go back to here. And so that's the rollout of the update. Any questions? I'm going to switch off of Windows itself. At this point, any Windows questions before we go further? Nope. Okay. Squoosh. Squoosh is Google Chrome's latest item. Cutting edge image converter. And let's get the article to load. And Google Chrome Labs division has released a brand new image conversion web app called Scooch as part of the 2008 Chrome Development Summit in a bid to show off the potential enabled by this year's many Chrome updates and WebAssembly. So let's take a look at Scooch, and we'll click on it. And this is the program. And what I'm going to do is I am going to take a picture and just slide it on from my desktop. So all you got to do is drag and drop it, and it opens the program. Now we're set at, right now this picture is at 100%. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. I can use my roller on my mouse, or I could change it here, and it's now 25% of the actual picture. Now you'll see I can move it around, and there's a line in the center. That line is showing me this is the actual picture, and this is what I'm changing it to. So right now the original image is 2.5 megabytes. I'm going to resize it. It's currently, as the original, is 4,032 pixels by 2,268 pixels. And as I said, it's 2.5 megabytes. A lot of times you want to send a picture to somebody, they don't need a 2.5 megabyte picture. What you can do by maintaining the same aspect ratio is, let's change that to 1,200 pixels. Because we're maintaining the aspect ratio, it automatically changes the height to keep the same ratio. And you'll see it compresses, and you have several ways to compress it. And I'm just using the one that it defaults to. Now, when you save a JPEG, unless you tell it otherwise, it generally also reduces the quality of the picture, and that's one way it can make the picture smaller. But you can adjust that here. Instead of it being 75%, you could make it 100%, or you can make it even worse. Let's leave it at 75 so we can kind of see if there's any difference or not. Doesn't look like it. If we slide the picture over, you still see that one rowboat, or that one boat with the rowing team in it. It pretty much looks the same. It's a little bit clearer up close on my screen, but to send it to somebody, it really doesn't make a lot of difference. And you'll notice we're going from 2.5 megabytes on the left to 119K, or 95% a smaller file by doing that. So if we then tell it, okay, let's download it, and there it is here, let's open that new file, it still is clear as the original, and now it's 112K instead of 2.5 megabytes, which makes it much easier to email to somebody or to do anything that you want to do on it. The reason to keep it the original size is if you're doing some editing on it and you want to make sure that you don't lose any quality for whatever reason, or if you're doing any kind of printing, you want to have the best quality of the picture that you can. So that's Squoosh. There's some other things that you can do with it. You can reduce the palette. You can change to several different types of images. That's to change the browser to browser JPEG, a browser PNG, and some others. You may not have a viewer for the others, so you got to be careful there as well. But it's a free program, and you saw how easy it is. You just slide the picture onto the page, and you're ready to roll. And that's Scooch from Google. Now, the next article, there's been some discussion in the TechSig, the CFCS TechSig forum, as well as I've talked to some other people, the fact that we've been talking about 5K, and the fact that 5K for your phones, or internet for your phones, is starting to roll out in some areas. Orlando is going to be one of the first areas by one of the phone companies that's going to make it available, or it's one of the companies going to make it available, and you'll be able to buy a phone that has 5G capabilities and then utilize it. I'm going to mute for a moment. I hope I remember to unmute. The 5G is going to be rolled out, and by the end of 2020, in other words, about 2 years from now, it's going to be very widely used, and it's very high speed. They have to have a lot of towers. They have to have them closer than the current cell towers, but you're going to see a lot of 5G phones coming out, and 5G other items that'll be able to utilize this higher speed on a different band, a different spectrum on the for sound. But there's something else coming. SpaceX just got FCC approval to deploy thousands more internet satellites. And what they're going to do, SpaceX plan, is to build a global high-speed wireless internet network using satellites, and it's taken another step forward. FCC now has approved it. The company's requested deploy more than 7,000 very low Earth orbit satellites for its StarLink network. It follows the regulator giving the SpaceX the green light in March to launch 4,425 satellites. When it's complete, StarLink will be comprised of almost 12,000 satellites that'll blanket the planet with such a persistent internet connection. That should mean that people in rural areas or other locations where more traditional types of connections are impractical now will be able to access a network with promised speeds of up to 1 gigabit or 1 gigabit per second. So it's going to vastly improve speed and availability of broadband internet. SpaceX deployed 2 test satellites in February, hopes to launch 1,600 in the next few years. However, the StarLink network won't be fully complete until somewhere in the mid 2020s, about 2025. For some of us, that's a long ways away. For some of us, that's forever. But it's going to be another way that people are going to be able to access the internet without going through a cable company. Except this is going to come from SpaceX and maybe companies that they will license, or we're not sure how it's, or I'm not sure how it's going to be deployed. But the fact that it's going to be another choice for us. So we're going to have 5G, which is not there yet, and we're going to have the SpaceX. What are they calling it? It said here the StarLink network. So we've got some new things coming along. So those of us who like to live in yesterday, it's all going to change tomorrow. Any questions on that from the audience there in CFCS? I don't know if any of you had been aware that that was coming, and that is interesting. The fact that there's going to be a lot of debris floating around up above us, and that's one of the things that they're concerned with, is them bumping into other satellites and so on. So it's all got to be coordinated. And in some cases, they're going to use some of the existing satellites instead of putting new ones up as well. There's going to be a lot of space junk out there. And so some of that will burn up and fall to the ground. So you might want to get a good heavy umbrella. Okay, the next article here, let's see, how do they plan on handling the delay? I don't know. We'll have to see, but apparently, Bob, if they're talking about up to gigabit speeds coming from satellites, apparently they got that figured out. So it'll be interesting. If this is the first you've heard of it, now you can, we'll all be able to do some searching for more information on it, and I'm sure there's going to be more and more articles as it gets closer for them to start deploying more and more satellites and utilizing that system. See if there's anything else. Mike says, I'm wondering what kind of interference we'll have from weather for Starlink. Again, that we'll have to see. Okay, that's all the items I see listed. And let's go to the next item. This is Windows 10 again, and I'm not going to go through all of these because I think I did back in October. And if you want to find out all of the things that are part of the new Windows 10, I've got them posted. This is a slideshow of about 30 slides. Let's full screen this. And, well, let's click on all slides. And you can see digging deep into Windows 10, the Windows 10 timeline, the cloud clipboard. These are things that I talked about in the October meeting. Although I don't think I did much. Let's see where to go here. On your phone, I started using this, and I don't think I had for our meeting, so I'll talk about that just briefly. But what I have is down here in my taskbar is something called Your Phone, and it sits there. When I click on it, I have it paired with my phone. It goes out, looks at, and it knows that's my phone. It shows the photos and it shows my messages. And I can actually, with the messages, I can go out and I can actually click a message and send it to somebody. So I can say to Stan, sorry, your numbers are showing up. I'm going to get out of this because numbers are showing up, and I really don't want to do that. But I can click on Stan, and again, that's showing his numbers. So let's get off of here. Anyway, you can message from your desktop now through your phone. And I can also get the photos that are on my phone. This was for these, let's see, this picture. I needed to find the manual for our kitchen range. And so it was way down on the bottom, and I couldn't bend and turn to the side and have my glasses focus. And so what I did is I took my phone, put it to the side, and took a picture of the label, and I can see what the model number is. Then I did a search on the model number, found the manual, and I was able to print it out. So using my phone to be able to look at something that I can't see with my own eyes. Great idea anyway. So that's on my phone. So what I can do is click on that. It opens the picture up, and then I can right mouse click. Well, it opened it up in Nearfan view. Whatever I can do in Nearfan view, I can do. So I can print it, I can save it. So I could do a file, and I could do a save as and save it on my computer. So I can easily move pictures now from my phone to my computer remotely without having to hook a wire up. And I can also do messages. So that's built in now into Windows, and it's called Phone. And so just by clicking a link that automatically gets set up, called Your Phone, gets set up in my taskbar, I'm able to go out and do that. Okay, so there's some tricks and tips and tweaks in Windows 10 to go ahead and look at. We've got a little bit of time, so I added some items here. Several people on a regular basis ask me, what's the best antivirus? Here is an article from av-test.org. And every month they rate most of the major antivirus programs with a score. Let's make that bigger. One smaller. And you can see Avast and AVG have the same scores. They're owned by the same company now. They may just change the name of the software. I don't even know if the software's changed. The software that I use isn't even on this list, but Leo Laporte from TWIT, or the Week in Technology podcast, says that because every month these change, and what happens is there's new viruses. Some of them update more quickly than others, and so what might be the top one this month may not be the top one next week, because it's not recognizing something that's brand new where one of the other ones has gone and updated. And so you can be switching these all the time, or he recommends just using the Windows, and let's come down for Microsoft here. The Microsoft Windows Defender, the score seems to be about average of what's out there, and just be very careful. And you don't have to pay for any of these others. So those of you who are more comfortable with it, there's Avast and AVG that are free. But you don't need to use anything other than the Windows Defender, but you need to be very careful on what you click on. That's the big thing, because if it's a new virus or a new malware, your anti-malware or antivirus may not pick it up. And so when you click on something, it's not going to save you anyway. So be careful what you click is the big thing. So that's a good article, and so there's the link for it. And that updates every month, so you can go back and look at other months, and then you can watch it in future months as well. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the Marriott breach. And let's see. While that's loading, I'm going to talk about a couple other things, but not the one I was thinking about. This is the Marriott breach. It impacted about 500 million customers. What it didn't impact were Marriott customers. But Marriott bought several, something called Starwood properties, which includes the Westin Hotel, the Sheraton Hotel chain, the Luxury Connection, 4 Points by Sheraton, the W Hotel, St. Regis, Lee Meridian, Aloft, Element, Tribute Portfolio, and Design Hotels. Those were the ones that had a rewards program, and that's what got compromised. And this article tells you what, if you're a customer, what you should do about it. If you're a business looking for tips to prevent getting hit by a breach, there's some good tips here in this article. But it's getting so there's so many breaches, we're not paying attention to them anymore. And Quora, Quora, I believe is the spelling, just got hit. And this is a question answer group. And I think it was 100 million people there, 100 million accounts were compromised. And where did I read? There was another article that one company, and maybe it was Quora, I don't recall what company it was, they have been compromised for over 4 years and never realized it. 4 years. So all of the things we do to protect ourselves with long passwords and callback features and everything, we're getting compromised, and it's not our fault, and we don't have a lot of control about it. So we need to make sure that our lawmakers are on top of this and are somehow trying to protect us. And I believe there are some laws and different things that people are trying to make sure that companies report quickly and mitigate and try to end any of these breaches and try to find them before they become an issue. But don't get comfortable the fact that now there's so many breaches that it doesn't matter. It does matter, and it can affect you seriously, either immediately or down the road. So you need to be watching your credit card, your debit card bills every month. You need to be watching for things being charged to you that maybe you didn't charge. And what a lot of these people do is they'll take $1, buy something for $1 or $2 and test it. And so you may not notice, or you may think, well, gee, I bought something for that. I don't even remember what it was now. It was only $1 or $2. But it could be the bad guys testing to see if your card works. So kind of keep track of what's going on every month, or more often, go online and take a look. This article I found was interesting. Busted. The Department of Justice exposes huge ad fraud operation. 8 people were charged. But if you read the article, it's talking about how they were making money. And you know that ads generate money from somebody. What this meth bot did, the first ran between 2014 and 2016. It was dubbed Meth Bot by discoverers, and it was 1,900 strong farm of data center servers rented to host 5,000 bogus websites. Not only was the traffic to these fictitious, the gang went out to some lengths to simulate real users visiting these domains from fake geographic locations, but the sites themselves were spoofed versions of real sites, including CNN, the New York Times. What they did is they created fake websites with ads that paid, and then they used fake people visiting those websites, so they're getting paid for people visiting the sites, and it wasn't even, none of it was real. It was all done by computers and bots, and they were getting paid by the advertisers. The sites were then added to legitimate ad networks where unsuspecting ad buyers could pay to advertise on them. It's been reported that ads were shown on as few as 10% of the visits MethBot's fake users used to make its fake websites, which means most of the MethBot activity was just a computer program talking to itself. Presumably, this technique was meant to keep the fraud below the radar of suspicious ad networks. Estimated fraud, at least $7 million. Unbelievable. Eve, spelled with a 3. Second part of the operation, dubbed Eve, was more conventional but highly profitable click fraud botnet comprising of 1.7 million computers infected with some malware that ran between 2015 and October of 2018. Eve's purpose was simply to quietly generate as much entirely fake traffic as possible to advertisers that would earn the gang money. And ambition it succeeded in fulfilling, and then some. $29 million they generated. And so when you say, well, having somebody get onto my computer and use and be able to do something in my computer doesn't make any difference. Well, what they're doing is they're using your computer to go out and automatically and connect to these using robots, software, in other words, on your computer that you don't know anything about. You don't see them working, but they're actually working, running on your computer, using your connection to the internet and generating this fake advertising money. So it sounds like a victimless crime simply because the ad networks paying out all this money have not been named. Ultimately, the money stolen came from a company buying ad space whose costs are eventually passed on to the customers, which is you. Around a month ago, the FBI, assisted by Google and the group's nemesis, White Ops, worked together on one of the U.S. authorities' periodic botnet takedowns. And so that's what this article is talking about. A 2016 estimate by the World Federation of Advertisers warned that if left unchecked, the problem could grow to a 50 billion black hole by 2025. Unbelievable. So a lot of you ask, how do they make money with this stuff? Well, here's one of the ways they do it without a lot of effort, with just computerized, but they may be using your computer or your neighbor's computer or your work computer. So I thought that was an interesting article, and I did want to pass that information on to you. And this last item has to do with, we've been told that if it's got HTTPS, that it's probably a safe website. Well, this article is saying that HTTPS designation might not protect you after all. So this is a good article to read. Unfortunately, scammers continue to evolve their ways to continue victimizing the public through technology. A new report has found about 49% of known phishing websites that steal your information after tricking you into submitting it, contain a secure designation, that HTTPS with the lock on it, and a little green padlock. The look for the lock advice was once a sound way to protect yourself, is a little less reliable than before. So again, you need to protect yourselves. So just as scammers have involved, now it's up to consumers to make some changes. Install a security suite that offers anti-phishing and website security. So if you do use one of these antivirus programs, make sure that you get one that's got a security suite that has anti-phishing and website security. Again, you've got to still be careful. They give you a false sense of security. You sometimes can still click on something and cause it to send information you don't want to do. You also want to establish a throwaway email address. Pick up an email address to use to sign into something that you don't know what it is, but one that you can, you don't need it. It's not your main email. And designate a payment card for internet purchases. And a lot of the payment cards also, and there are some services out there that allow you to make a temporary card number. And you might want to look into, if you're very concerned, and you should be, you might want to look into using some of those cards. I know that the Bank of America and Discover have something called Safe Shop or something similar to that, where you can say, okay, I want a credit card number with no more than $50 and only good for 2 months. Or you can then extend it if you wanted to, or make it a reoccurring. But they can only hit you for X amount of dollars on it. And it's not, and it's a fake number. It's not a real credit card number, but it's associated with yours. The credit card company recognizes it, knows it. So when somebody uses that number, it just gets charged to your number. The customer, the person or the business never sees your real credit card number. They only see the fake one. And then the bank gets the connection, makes the connection, and takes care of it and charges your credit card accordingly. So that's something for you to look into to protect yourselves. That's all the items I have, and it's just about an hour of time. Stan, before we end the recording, are there any questions on your end? Anything? I'm looking on the chats to see if there's anything there, and I don't see anything. I'm not hearing anything from CFCS.
First now.
Okay, there you are.
Yeah, I was muted and didn't realize it. Ted had a question. You were talking about the StarLink, and I think Ted's question was that 5G or 4G?
It's neither.
Right, it's totally different.
It's totally different, correct. And the G in 4G and 5G stand for the word generation. By the way, if you're wondering, it's got nothing to do with gigabytes or anything like that. Let's see. Bob online said, I've looked into HughesNet, but it's got a 2-second delay. And I don't see any other messages. I do ask that everyone in the audience hang on there. I'm going to end the recording by bringing this up and saying thanks for joining. This has been the Central Florida Computer Society Windows Special Interest Group, or WinSig, for December 9th, 2018. Thanks for joining.